So now let us discuss about the logical components. Okay, so logic means, I already told you in the previous class, logic means that is only imaginable, and that logic can be vary between person to person. When I look at a problem, the logic behind resolving that problem or issue is different than you. Okay, you will look at the problem in a different way, and you will bring some other logic or some easy logic to resolve the issues. So the same thing here. There are four logical components in the active directory. The first one is forest, second one is tree, domain, and OU. Okay, forest means it's collection of trees. What can somebody tell me what you mean by forest in the layman term? What do you mean by forest? What will be there in the forest normally? Speak up, guys. Yeah, go on.
So trees, animals.
Okay. So when I say forest, that forest will have trees, animals, rivers, hills, many things will be there. Correct? Huh? But I have a forest next to my village. It will only have the trees, no animals, no water ponds, no rivers, no hills. But very thick trees are there. Can I call that as a forest?
No, sir.
Why? Why no?
A forest means it's including animals, trees, everything. So
No, that is wrong actually. When I say forest, whether the animals are there or whatever is there or whatever is not there, you have only the tree should be there. If there are thick trees, that is called as a forest. Okay, so forest means it's collection of trees. When you have large number of trees, okay, that is called as forest. If you have collection of trees, that's altogether called as forest. Thick tree should be there. Okay, that is called as forest. So now you know forest means it's collection of trees. Okay, each and every tree represents a domain. Okay, say for example, when you have Microsoft.com, this is a forest because the forest name is Microsoft.com. Okay, then you have some trees. Tree can be like in uk.microsoft.com, us.microsoft.com, or india.microsoft.com. These are all the trees in fact. Okay, since in all the domain name we have this microsoft.com because it is a continuous name, a forest namespace is continuous. Correct na? UK is different. After UK, Microsoft.com is there. After US, Microsoft.com is there. Means the forest is Microsoft.com. This UK, US, and India are different trees. This is what I was telling. The collection of trees is called as forest. And what is the tree? A tree means it's a group of domains. See, Microsoft.com is a domain. UK dot US dot Microsoft.com is a domain. India dot Microsoft.com is a domain. Okay. Here the collection of domains creates a forest. See, basically forest means it's a collection of trees. Tree means it is group of domains. Okay, the first and second is done. Then what is domain? Domain you already know, it's a security boundary. Means we are going to create active directory domain services, and we will promote that as a forest. Then promote the work group as a what is this domain. Okay, as soon as you install the active directory and promote it to a domain controller, that work group will convert it as a domain environment, and you have to enter the username and password. So that is called as domain. Now you know uh, forest means it's collection of trees. Tree means it's group of domains. Okay, with a continuous namespace. Here the continuous namespace means it is Microsoft.com is there in both, and domain means it's a security boundary. Okay, when you install the active directory and promote it to a domain, you have to enter the username and password to log into the estate. That is called as domain. And finally the OU means it is organizational structure. Means if you consider India Microsoft.com, okay, In this, you may have multiple locations: Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. Okay. Under that Pune, you may have multiple folders. Okay, IT departments. Okay, or admin departments. Under that, you may have computers. Under that, you may have users. Like this, each and every folders we will call it as the organization units or OUs. Okay, so basically the hierarchy under the domain, each domain, okay, that hierarchy we call it as the organizational units. The folders will call it as organizational units. That is what the logical components means. Okay, is it clear? Before I move, guys, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you look at this picture, you'll understand better. So here I have a domain called, actually if you just consider this contoso.com, this is a separate domain. Okay, it is a separate domain, but when you see there are multiple child domains. So this is a domain called contoso.com. Okay, and this contoso.com has got two child domains. See, east.contoso.com, west.contoso.com. Here three domains are there. One is contoso.com, another one is east.contoso.com, third one is west.contoso.com. So here the common is contoso.com. Hence, this contoso.com will become our forest. And the three trees are here: Contoso, East, West. These three are the trees. The same thing I mentioned here. See, forest is contoso.com. Tree, there are three trees. Even this contoso is also tree. East is also tree. West is also tree. Altogether, we will call it as forest. And the common thing in all the thing is contoso, and that is the forest, name of the forest. Okay, and domain means if you separately put east, west, these are all the domains. And OU structure, you see the OU structure, the organization needs the folders to store the classes and attributes. The classes and attribute means either it can be your username, computer name, phone number, mobile and address, your manager details. All those things are the classes and the attributes. Okay, this is the active directory structure to make you easy understanding. Okay, if you when you imagine what is forest, what is tree, what is domain, this picture should come. And the domain will be represented like this pyramid is the represented by the domain, and the forest both will be represented like this only. So that is why you see here domain, and its forest. Both the domain and forest represented in the triangle. Okay. Any question here? No. So now you know the little bit on the logical components and the basics of Active Directory, all these things. Now let us understand the partition of the Active Directory. Okay. So every application will have its own database. Correct, na? So it will have its own database. Similarly, even the Active Directory will also have its own database means where it stores the information, correct na? But Active Directory is a very intelligent and very smart service. So what it will do, whatever it does, it will be it will be done in the very punctual manner. Okay, so what it will do, instead of dumping all the things together, it will create separate partitions for separate kind of things, okay, to store. So there are four partitions. The first one is see, before I get into that, the Active Directory partition, the name of the Active Directory partition is called as ntds.dit. See here, this ntds.dit, ntds means it is new technology directory service dot directory information tree. The Active Directory database is ntds.dit. ntds means new technology directory services dot directory information tree. This is the abbreviation. Okay, and this particular database is gets divided into four partitions. Okay, the partition one is domain partition, configuration partition, schema partition, and application partition. So if somebody asks you how many default partitions are there in Active Directory, you can tell there are only three default partitions in the Active Directory. Which are those? The schema partition, configuration partition, and domain partition. The application partition will get created only when you integrate any application along with the Active Directory. Okay, say for example, Active Directory and DNS are both are integrated. So there is one more service called as DNS, Active Directory plus DNS. In order to have a healthy Active Directory environment, you should definitely have the DNS. Without the DNS, Active Directory will never work. So what we will do, when you install the Active Directory, DNS will also get installed automatically. I will show you that, and I'll explain you what is DNS and all later. But now you understand Active Directory will not work without the DNS. These both are like husband and wife. Okay, without the DNS, Active Directory will never work. But without the Active Directory, DNS will work. Okay, so when you get installed this Active Directory, by default this DNS will also automatically get installed. When you install the DNS, the Active Directory will never, mix the data of DNS. It will separately create an partition called application partition, and that will store the information of the application. In our case it is DNS, or if you integrate any other application, that data will be stored in the application partition. Okay, now let us understand what are this partition is all about. Okay, so let me explain the schema partition first. Okay, the schema partition means it is the main partition of the Active Directory which stores your classes and attributes. The main thing in the Active Directory is you will create the users, you will create the computer objects. Okay, these two are very very key things, because when you onboard a user, you will create a user account, correct na? Say for example, if you are working in microsoft.com, maybe your ID will come like maybe beamrai at the rate microsoft.com, or kavana at the rate microsoft.com, or mehboob at the rate microsoft.com. Like that your ID will get created. Okay, that is called as user information, correct na? And that user will be created in the schema partitions only. Okay, and then you will get an laptop for you, right? That laptop will be maybe laptop 1 dot, or maybe PC 01 dot Microsoft at the rate Microsoft.com. Okay, the computer name will be FQDN, fully qualified domain name will be there, like your computer name at the rate Microsoft.com. Like you have your name, your username at the rate Microsoft.com, even the computer will also have its name at the rate Microsoft.com. That information will also be get created in the domain, the schema partitions only. Okay, so basically the schema partition stores your classes and attributes. Classes means your computer name, your username. Attribute means the properties of it, your first name, your last name, your manager number, mobile number, your mobile number. Okay, which department you are. Okay, all these are the attributes. Okay, basically schema partition stores your username and computer information and the properties of it. Okay, that is about the schema partition. Any question here? Okay, now let us move on to the configuration partition. The configuration partition is very simpler. Okay, the configuration, the overall configuration of the domain and the forest will be stored in the configuration partition. Say for example, if you have a domain called microsoft.com. Okay, if you have a domain called microsoft.com, so it will have the information of how many domain controllers are there, how many DNS are there, how many sites are there. So basically all these domain controller information, DNS information, sites and subnet information, okay, all this information will be stored in the configuration partition. Basically all the configurations related to the domains and the forest will be stored in the configuration partition. Okay, so the partition, I mean the configuration can be anything. How many domain controllers are there, what is the recent domain controller promoted, how many DNS are there, which is the recent DNS server got removed. Okay, how many sites are there, which is the recently added, which is the recently removed. All this configuration related information will be stored in the configuration partitions. Okay, that is called as the configuration partition is about. Okay, so schema you understood, configuration you understood. Schema stores the username and password and computer informations. Configuration stores all the configuration related to the Active Directory domain. Okay, how many domain controllers are there, how many DNSs are there, which is the recently added, which is the recently removed, and how many sites and subnets are configured. All this information will be stored in the configuration partition. This one. Okay, schema you learned already. Now let us move on to the domain partition. Okay, the domain partition stores the information of the user account. Okay, user account is belongs to which OU. Okay, what is the password, what is the telephone number, all those information will be stored in the domain partitions. Okay, and all these partitions will be there, one for each domain. Okay, if you are creating a domain called microsoft.com, these three partitions will be there. If you are creating uk.microsoft.com or us.microsoft.com or india.microsoft.com, if you have three domains, so all the three domains will have its these three partitions in the Active Directory. Okay, so this is the domain partition, and last one you already know. The last one is application partition. I've already explained you. Application partition will not be there by default. Only when you integrate any application while installing the Active Directory or after installing the Active Directory will create separate partition called application partition to store the data of that application separately. It will not mix the data along with the Active Directory information. No, it will create a separate partition. Okay, that is called as application partition. Okay, example, if somebody asks you what is the application, you can tell Active Directory along with the DNS. So when you install the DNS along with the Active Directory, the Active Directory will separately create a partition called application partition to store the DNS related information. And you may ask a question, sir, why do we need to integrate it? Because Active Directory means it is identical. Say for example, if you have if you have three domain controller DC1, DC2, and DC3, so all the domain controller looks like replica, identical. If you have here 10 folders, the same replica will be here also. If you delete something here, it will go and reflect here. If you create something here, it will go and reflect here. So all these are identical. So to have it identical, what it will do, it will enable the replication among. Okay, the data will be getting copied to all the domain controllers are available in the estate. Okay, and that is the reason it will create some traffic. So if you are not integrating, what happens, the DNS will also have its the DNS also have the same thing. It will also start replicating from one domain DNS server to another DNS server. So there it increases the traffic. So in order to minimize the traffic, what we will do, we will integrate with the Active Directory. So whenever the Active Directory sends the information, updated information to the other domain controller, it will also send the information of the DNS. So there is no separate replication will be initiated for the DNS. The DNS replication will be taken care along with the Active Directory replication. That is why we integrate any application with Active Directory. Okay, so now we learnt quickly. Now we learnt about the structure, logical component like forest, trees, domains, and OU. For forest means it's collection of trees. Tree means it's a group of domains. Domain means it's a security boundary. OU means the organizational units or the folder structure under the Active Directory domain. So this is how the Active Directory structure looks like. So when I say domain or a forest, that will be represented via this triangle, okay, as the pyramid we call it as. So if you look at here, I have three domain. One is contessa.com, east.contessa.com, west.contessa.com. So in all the three domain, the common thing is contessa.com. And that is why we will call this as a Contoso forest. The forest name will become Contoso. The domain is east, west, and Contoso are the domain names. Okay, and the same thing I have mentioned in the right side forests, trees, and the domains and the OU structure. This is a graphical or the pictorial representation how you have to imagine when somebody talks about the different domains and the forest. Okay, and you learned about the partitions. The partitions are active directory of the active directory is ntds.dat. ntds means it's new technology directory service dot directory information tree. By default, it will only have three partitions: schema, configuration, and domain partitions. So as soon as you integrate any application along with the the Active Directory will create a separate partition called application partition to store that particular application related information. Okay, and we learned schema, configuration, domain partitions, and application partitions. Okay, now let us move on to the some other terminologies and some important ports. See, in order to have a workable or healthy Active Directory estate, it is important to have the list of ports are enabled. Okay, see, these are the very important ports. Any idea about ports? What do you mean by port? Guys, what do you mean by port? Hello? Guys, speak up. If you don't know, tell no, I'll explain. See, ports is nothing but, yeah, go on. Hello? Somebody is trying to talk? Okay. See, ports are nothing but the doors in a computer. See, normally what happens if you have a computer, okay, this computer will have around 65,000 ports in it. You may don't see, but there are ports. The ports are nothing but the doors. Like when you look at your house, you have multiple doors in your house or vents in your house. The main door will be there where you use that door to get into the house and go out of the house. You have balcony to take fresh airs and lights. You have windows to get the airs and lights. You have ventilation to get, get the full, I mean, fresh airs and send the what is it? Bad air. Okay. So each and every vent is for a different purposes. Similarly, the computer will also have around 65,535 different ports. Okay, and each and every port is used for a different purposes. Say for example, if I want to if I want to browse an application like HTTP or HTTPS, the URL, if you say port number 80, that will be used for www.google.com. I mean, if you simply browse a website, that will go with port number 80. If you use like HTTPS colon google.com, then it will use port number 443. Similarly, if there is a DNS, that will use 53. Okay, so different ports will be used for different purposes. And okay, and these ports like LDAP, these are the important ports of the Active Directory. In order to have a healthy state, I mean healthy environment, you should be open the ports between the domain controller or between the client computer. Say for example, if you have two domain controller, so in between there is a firewall. In this firewall, you need to allow all these ports 389, 636, 88, 53, 123, 3268. All these are different purposes. I'll explain you one or two. Okay. And say for example, if you have we have 10 computers. So in between this computer segment also you need to enable these ports. Between this DC012, this PCs, and this is DC02, and this is your firewall. Okay, so I'll explain. See, this 389 is there now. This 389 port number 389. It's very important port. We will call it as LDAP port. Lightweight Directory Access Protocol port means that is the very important protocol of Active Directory. If somebody asks you what is the protocol of Active Directory, you can tell LDAP. LDAP means it is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. So if there is no port number 389 is there, you will not be able to promote, or you will not be able to have the communication between two domain controllers only. Or when you try to enter the username and password at the client computer, if the port is not open between your client computer and the server computer, the domain controller, the authentication will not happen. Okay, the server Kerberos is also like that. Kerberos means that is the authentication protocol. Okay, Kerberos is nothing but it's a Greek word. Kerberos is nothing but it's black dog. Okay, black dog they will call it as. So what it will do, when you enter the username and password, this Kerberos protocol will take that username and password and go to the domain controller. Okay, this is called as Kerberos for authentication. For authentication. Okay, so the authentication, if port number 88 is not open, the authentication will not happen. If DNS is not there, then you cannot use the names. You have to always use the IP addresses to browse anything. Okay, NTP means it is network time protocol. So this is responsible for having the time across all the computers available in the network is same. So imagine if you have 10,000 computers, all the 10,000 computer will have the same timing. Like if it is 8 o'clock 12 minutes 12 seconds now, in all the 10,000 computers the time is same, 8 o'clock 12 minutes 12 seconds only. And that will be done by Active Directory. To have that synchronized, NTP port is important. This NTP port number 123 is important. Like that, each and every port is very very important, and these are all the available port. Like 3268 is for LDAP, and 3269 for global catalog LDAP SSL, RPC 135, SMB like 445. Okay, these are all the important ports that you have to remember. Take a photo of it and you can write the notes. And notes I will give you, don't have to write the notes, but for your information, just keep it. Okay, and let us understand some term. This is clear? Is this clear, guys? ADDS ports.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and there are some important terminologies are there. Okay, so a little bit I've already explained. Okay, so ntds.dat you already know, it is the new technology directory service dot directory information tree. So this is the Active Directory database name. Okay, if somebody asks you what is the name of the Active Directory, you can tell ntds.dat. ntds means it's new technology directory services, and dat means it's directory information tree. This is the extension of the Active Directory database file. And then we have sysvol. Sysvol means it is system shared volume. It is also an abbreviation. Sysvol means it is system shared volume. Okay, that stores the required information of the Active Directory database to replicate over the network. So I told you here two domain controllers are there, and both are identical. I told you in the previous slide. So whatever information is there, that will get replicated to here. Okay, how it will be replicated? The Active Directory has got a folder called sysvol, that will sysvol. Okay, that will keep the information to be circulated to this computer. Okay, or any computer, not computer, domain controller. If you have 10 domain controller also, all the information will be kept in the sysvol folder, and other domain controller will look at the sysvol folder and take the updates. Okay, basically, to replicate in the network, if there is an information to be replicated within the network, then that data will be kept in the system shared volume folder. Okay, so then it will get replicated among the domain controller. So now you learnt about the sysvol folder importance, and I am talking about the replication now. So when I am talking about the replication, you have to understand what is the replication means. Replication means it is exchanging the information between the domain controllers. Like here I told you, DC01 is wishing to send something to the DC02. Okay, so then it will keep the information in the sysvol folder, and the data will be replicated here. Similarly, if DC02 or DC2 want to send some information to the DC01, same thing, it will keep the information in the sysvol folder, and it is two-way replication. It is two-way transitive, we call it as. Okay, so the information will be sent from DC02 to DC01 also. Okay, how it is via sysvol folder. Now we need to understand there are two types of replication. Okay, one is intra-site, another one is inter-site. Okay, so any idea what is intra-site and inter-site, guys? So when I say intra-site, so say for example under the Bangalore location you have two domain controllers, DC01, DC02. Okay, and you are creating a user called user 10. Okay, where under Bangalore OU, under the Bangalore OU you are creating user 10. That information will be sent to the DC02. Okay, and here also there is a folder called Bangalore. Under that user 10 will come and set. This is called as intra-site. Why? Because here the replication is happening within Bangalore site only. It is intra. So imagine you have Hyderabad office also. Under Hyderabad you have a domain controller. Okay. There you have Hyderabad OU. Under that you have IT OU. Under that you are creating some user 11. Here this is Hyderabad location. No, the replication between Hyderabad to Bangalore location domain controller should happen. So this is called as intersite. Intersite means the replication is happening between two different sites. One site is Hyderabad, another one is Bangalore. That is called as intersite. If the replication happens within the site, means within Bangalore location or within Hyderabad location domain controllers, that is called as intra. Between two different sites, that is called as intersite. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So site means I need to explain site. So site means it's a physical location, guys. So maybe you or your friends might have you used to speak like he has purchased a site. Site means what? He has just purchased a physical location, na? Site means it is a physical location. Physical location. Site means it's a physical location. So site means physical location. One site is Hyderabad, another site is Bangalore, and the replication between two different sites is happening. That is called as intersite. Okay. Any question before I move? Okay. This is already discussed. Yep. Any question? This is the last slide actually. See, like we have replication, we have another concept called as trust. So trust means what? What do you mean by trust, guys? What do you mean by trust?
Believe.
Yep. Trust is nothing but belief. Correct. Huh? I am trusting you, and you are trusting me, and that is the reason you are sharing all your things to me, happiness, sorrows, whatever it is. You are sharing that information to me, that things to me. Okay, and I believe you. That's why I share all my personal information to you because I am trusting you, and similarly, you are trusting me. That is the reason. Okay. So, trust is nothing but it is believing each other. Okay. So, in the Active Directory also, we have four types of trust. Okay. First one is forest trust, external trust, realm trust, and shortcut trust. So, why do we need trust? You may ask a question, sir. Why do we need the trust between the Active Directory or within the Active Directory? Say, for example, so Facebook application is there, FB. So FB acquire Instagram. Instagram company, Facebook has been acquired a company called Instagram. So what they will do when you create Facebook account and when you post some reels here in the Facebook, that will also go and play in the Instagram. Or if you upload a Instagram reel, that will also get played in the Facebook. Why? Because here Facebook and Instagram, they have got forest trust. So using the same Facebook account, you can log into the Instagram.com, or using the same Instagram.com, you can log into the Facebook account, because there you have the forest trust. So I am creating a trust between the forest to make it easy administration, or to allow people from each forest to access the applications. Okay, that is called as forest trust. Always the forest trust will be transitive or non-transitive. It is not necessarily I am believing you. It is not necessary you supposed to believe me. It is not always transitive. Okay, it can be transitive or non-transitive. Transitive means I am believing you, same wise you are also believing me. That is called as transitive. That is two way. Non-transitive means I can believe you. It is not necessary that you have to believe me. It is one way. So transitive means we both are believing each other. Non-transitive means it is not necessarily you or me believe you. Okay, it is one way. If you are trusting me, it is not necessarily I should trust you, or I am trusting you, or I am believing you. It is not necessarily you supposed to trust me. It is not like that. Okay, that is called as transitive and non-transitive. So external trust is there. So external trust means, say for example, that is depend upon the Active Directory version. So this Facebook.com has got 2016 operating system, and this Instagram has got 2022 operating system. So if the trust is between two different OS, Active Directory, that is called as the external trust. Okay, that is called as external trust. The trust between two different Active Directory versions. So one domain controller has got 2016 operating system, another domain controller has got 2022 operating system. So when you are enabling the trust between two different OS flavors or Active Directory versions, that is called as external trust. Likewise, we have realm trust also. The realm trust is nothing but the trust between two different flavors or the platforms. Okay, like I have a Windows Active Directory here, Windows AD. Here you may have Linux Identity and Access Management, or you have Novel here. Here you may have Windows. So if the trust between two different platforms, that is called as realm. That is called as realm trust. Okay, the third one. The fourth one is shortcut trust. See, shortcut is nothing but, okay, say for example, when you create a forest trust, so imagine there are three domain controllers are there. So this is your Microsoft.com. Sorry, let me put it as Facebook.com, and this is your Instagram.com. Okay, so how Active Directory make sure this Active Directory will have a root, at least two roots. Okay, so if one route fail, another route should be there to replicate. So when I say forest, it simply establish a connection like this. This is one way, one way, one way. This is another way, another way, another way. Means if DC01 wish to DC02, DC0, if DC01 want to communicate between DC03, see, it can directly talk to DC01 to DC03 via this path. Due to some reason, if this route fails, it has got another option. It will go to DC02 here, and via DC02 using this path, it will connect to the DC03. So this is how Active Directory makes sure it does. So when I say forest connection, forest trust, It will simply have the connection, and any of the domain controller can talk to any one domain controller of this uh, different forest. Like this DC01 can talk to, so DC01 can also talk to DC02, DC01, DC03, or DC0, DC2 can also talk to any of the domain controller if it is forest. When I say shortcut, it will not all the domain controller will have the communication. It will they will designate only one particular domain controller. Okay, shortcut. They will tell the DC03 of facebook.com should only have the communication between the DC01 of instagram.com. That is called as shortcut. If DC02 want to have some information or talk to the DC02, they will go and ask DC01 of DC03 of facebook.com. That DC03 will talk to DC01 of instagram.com and then allow the DC02 to exchange the information. So not directly, it is indirectly. Okay, because the direct interaction is between only DC03 of Facebook and Instagram DC01. That is called as shortcut. Clear? Forest means anybody can talk, guys. Okay. Shortcut means only the designated, only one particular domain controller of each forest can be have the communication to exchange the information. Okay. That is called as shortcut. So last one is FSMO roles. There are 5 FSMO roles, guys, in the Active Directory. Okay. So 2 are forest wide, 3 are domain wide roles. Okay. So I'll tell you another 5 minutes. There are 5 FSMO roles. Okay. So they have classified into 2 types. One is this is forest wide role. Another 3 is domain wide role. Okay. So the 2 forest wide roles are schema master, and domain naming master. Important. Okay. And another 3 are domain wide role. The first one is RID master. You can write however the order you wanted. PDC emulator and infrastructure master. Infrastructure master. So these are domain wide roles. These are forest wide. These are domain wide. So why these are forest and domain, I'll tell you. Imagine you create a domain called facebook.com here. Facebook.com. You have a single domain controller. This is the very first domain. Okay. If you check the FSMO roles here, you will have all the 5 roles here. Since it is a very first domain controller. Okay. If you are creating another child domain, say for example under facebook.com, you create one more domain called india.facebook.com. So if you look at this picture, okay, I told you 2 are forest wide, another 3 are domain wide role. So when you check the FSM roles in this machine, the 2 forest wide, the schema master will be coming from here. Schema master and domain naming master will be coming from this DC01 of facebook.com. Okay, the India, the remaining RID master, PDC emulator, and infrastructure master will be coming from here. So altogether 5 FSMO will be there. Okay. This is clear. What is forest wide, what is domain wide? I'll explain you what is each and every roles now. But now you should know There are 5 FSMO role, 2 are forest wide role, 3 are domain wide role. No matter India only, if you create now another domain, okay, like uk.facebook.com, that time also same. The forest wide roles will be coming from here, okay, and the domain wide roles will be having here. If they will get created here only in this domain controller only, they will get created. uh, RID, PDC, and infrastructure master. Okay. Now let us quickly understand what are all the roles is about. Okay. If you see here, forest wide role, domain naming master, schema master. See here, the domain naming master is responsible for adding or removing the domain namespace. Say for example, in your estate now you have a one Active Directory server or the DNS server. This domain naming master is responsible for any new server is getting added or getting removed. It will have the accountability. So if there is no domain naming server, domain naming master, you cannot remove a domain controller or you cannot add a new domain controller in the estate. So it is very very crucial. But if you are not removing or if you are not adding anything, even if this domain naming master shut down, also not a problem. You will not have a problem until and unless it is not required. Okay, there is no addition or removal of the domain naming spaces, then it does not cause any impact. Schema master is also like that. Say for example, this is responsible to change the schemas versions. See, every operating system has got its own schema. Server 2012 has got its schema, 16 has its own schema. Say for example, you are migrating from server 2016 domain controller to server 2020-22 domain controller, then the schema you have to upgrade this 2016 schema to the 2022 versions. Only then the schema master will help us. Otherwise, even if the schema master shut down for 1 week, 10 days, also no problem. Okay, no, there is no immediate impact. Next one is these are the forest wide roles. Okay, now let us understand the domain wide roles. The domain wide roles are the RID master, infrastructure master, and the PDC emulator. See, RID means the computer does not understand the names. Okay, when you create a user, say for example, user one in the Active Directory, the computer will not understand this user one with the name. It will have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Some like this, one number will be there, and that number we will call it as RID, relative identifier. Relative identifier. Okay, so this RID master will always make sure it has got enough RID pool for the newly creating users and computer objects. Okay, the responsibility of the RID master is to have RID pool available for the newly building users and computers. Okay, so always it makes sure there is some free space, free numbers available for the newly creating users. By default it will be 50,000. Okay, as soon as you promote a domain controller, there are 50,000 RIDs will be there. As soon as it reaches 16,000, it will start negotiation and increase it to 50k. This is the responsibility of the RID master. Okay, and the infrastructure master is next one. The infrastructure master will track the changes to the objects in the domains that are members of the groups in the domain. Means this is basically responsible for the group membership. Say for example, I created a user, and this user is belongs to some groups, some Active Directory administrator group, remote desktop user group, and some other no, groups. So this infrastructure master responsible to know the users belongs to what and all groups. That's all. There is no impact if this infrastructure master is also down for some time. Then the last one is PDC emulator. Okay, the primary domain controller emulator also called as, or PDC emulator also people will call it as. Okay, so this is the very very important role. Okay, the responsibility of the PDC emulator role is it has got multiple things. One is it will it is responsible for time synchronization. Okay, it is responsible for password synchronization. Okay, so it is responsible for group policy GPO synchronization. Okay, imagine if the PDC is down for 1 hour, the user start complaining saying that I'm unable to log into the computer and it is showing me some error, bad password, and it says account lockout and my group policy settings are not getting replicated. So immediately there are a lot of issues started occurring when the PDC is down. So if somebody asks you what is the importance of, what is the very important role that will cause immediate impact in the FSMO, you can tell PDC emulator is the very important and the key role, because it is responsible for password synchronization. Imagine why it is important. I'll tell you. You have two domain controller here and you are trying to log in here. I mean, you are here and you change the password 10 minutes back. Okay, you are on vacation. After 1 week, you're going to office and your password got expired, and you are setting the password. When you are resetting the password, the request goes to the DC01. Okay, and you change the new password like password 123. Okay, after changing the password, you are trying to add login. Okay, and that time the authentication request will go here to the DC02. And if the PDC is shut down, primary domain controller role is shut down, the password, the newly created password information will not replicate it to here. The DC02 has got still old password. The DC01 has got new password. When you are entering the new password, even though you are entering the new password, since the authentication is going to the DC02 and DC02 still has got the old password, you will not be able to authenticate. It says bad password. No, try to check the password, like that error will come. And after 3 4 times, since you are entering the same password only, the request is going to the DC02. That Active Directory will consider you are not a legitimate user. It will lock your account get lockout. Then you have to raise a ticket. Then the Active Directory team will check why. Then they will check which domain controller you are authenticating. Then they will fix the issue. They will fix the PDC issue, and they will run a command. Okay, the replication command. Immediately the password 123 will get replicated to the DC02. After that, when you enter the username and password, it will just log you in. Okay, that is how this FSMO roles are very very important. Okay, so with that, I think we are done with the theoretical portion of Active Directory. Let me stop the recording and then I'll take the questions if you have any. I think that is fine. I'm stopping the recording now. Thank you.